You're gonna you're gonna really enjoy this episode. This is I can't stop laughing about it. I'm kind of all over the place in this one, and my intention is to talk about marketing and how I didn't like getting put in a marketing bucket when I didn't see myself as a marketer. And and I laugh because I give probably the most ridiculous analogies and stories in this, and I digress, and I crack myself up, and I'm not editing any of that stuff out. Buckle up, you're gonna need it to ride through this one. So in this episode, I do talk about my kind of ongoing battle, not so much anymore, but for a while there, I was really doing a lot of battle, if you will, between not being labeled as a marketer while learning about marketing, because it is a huge component of the work I do. And I do help people with their marketing. However, I never saw myself as a marketer. I don't have a marketing degree and blah, blah, blah. So I go into that in the episode. The thing I want you to think about as you're listening to this is, where is this showing up in your business? Where is this showing up in your life where you get put in a bucket? It's like having an older sibling who doesn't really get what you do, or a parent that doesn't get what you do, and they try to introduce you to somebody and they're like, well, I think she's a web designer or something. I'm not really sure, or whatever. This is why we have to teach people how to introduce us, especially when it comes to referrals, which are a very important part of a solopreneur business. The prompt I give you is all about taking a look at where this possibly could be showing up in your life. And where it does, take a look at that and see the good that can come out of that. And I give examples of that. And then where it can really kind of slow you down and weigh heavily on how you communicate about what you do, how you market yourself, and how you promote your services. You'll get a kick out of this episode. I obviously had a lot of fun recording it. I hope it doesn't make you stop following or unsubscribe to this show, because I'm just being me and having a good time. And I'm so glad you're along with me. So enjoy the show. Welcome to My Solopreneur Life. I'm Terry Pappy, your gracious host, and I am so glad you're here. I have a wonderful episode for you. Sit back, relax, and let's have some real talk about what it is to be a solopreneur. I've always had a struggle with marketing from the standpoint of being put in that marketing bucket. I understand when you have a business and you need help with marketing. In other words, you're trying to get more business, more clients, more customers, whatever. Depends on the business, obviously. People come to me and they say, I need help with my marketing. And I'm like, okay, great. Let's go ahead and figure out what's going on and where you need fixes or things that I can help you with. And so it's obviously handled in those first early discussions when you're talking to a new prospect. But why it's always been this pebble in my shoe is because I do not have a marketing degree. I did not study marketing. And so I've constantly had this battle. It's more of an internal battle in my own business, trying to position myself not as a marketer, but solving marketing problems, which is really interesting. So let me back up a little bit and give you some reasoning behind why I think this way. And this may resonate with you if you have a similar kind of stigma in your industry, whatever your business is. Especially when and this is more of a shout out to how I love to draw out each one of my clients' unique capabilities, unique personality, unique skill set that they bring to bear. And coupled with their own style of bringing about solutions for their clients, they're not homogenized. They're one-off. They are unique. And I love bringing that to the surface. And I think it's so important to me because that's how I've really built my own brand. So anyway, let me back up with my rationalization of why marketing is kind of like this chicken bone stuck in my throat. It's because when I went to college, I went to learn tactical design, commercial art, graphic design, how to prepare things for printing, how to get, how to put design together, how to lay something out. Everything was all about communications, how we communicated, what images we used, how did we do all that. So for me, it was about the making of the asset that was used in marketing. And I think that's where a lot of my frustration comes from, because I've honestly struggled really understanding marketing from day one. And obviously, I have learned much about marketing, about what I like, what works, what doesn't work, and how you can be very creative with your marketing approaches. What I really don't mind about marketing is you have to do it in your business. You have to put your information out there, your brand out there, your solution out there, so the people who need your help that are a fit for you find you. And the only way you can do that is through marketing. Obviously, we have seen plenty of marketing tactics, if you will, that are annoying, really unprofessional, that just kind of, I hate to say this, but give a bad name to marketing. And that's also probably one of the reasons why I've kind of resisted it. So I've had this ongoing battle, if you will, between learning marketing and providing an incredible experience for my clients. And that's what this episode is really about. It's about how I developed my own style of bringing about solutions for my clients. And was marketing part of that? Was a strategy around, okay, if Terry's going to create these communications, how do we get it out to the world, right? So the marketing unfolds through the strategy. It's one thing to create the assets, but it's another to decide how you're going to deploy them. And that's where I feel marketing comes into play. And it also becomes very valuable in the overarching way that you deliver, deploy, and send out these communications to get business. So you're able to measure things. And this is what I've learned in my almost 20 years now in doing this work, is how to harness marketing so you don't lose that personal brand, so you don't lose that essence of the unique qualities of what you bring to bear in your business. And I really think that the two can go hand in hand as long as there's balance. Okay. So, and what I'm talking about with balance is how you're actually doing your marketing. And marketing takes so many different shapes and forms. And I don't want to get into the, teaching about marketing, because based on what I just shared with you, this girl does not by any means want to impress you with her marketing knowledge, because it's just not where my emphasis is. I know that sounds weird, given that I'm in kind of like a marketing business. I mean, like when how you check your categories of your business when you're trying to set up a profile or whatever, and it says, what is your business about? And you look down the list, it doesn't really say all the things that you really do. Like when I would look for it, I'm like, okay, so a lot of it's confidence building, a lot of it's creating a personal brand, being unique, what's the message, being very clear, making your website idiot proof, where you basically make it so easy for people to find what they're looking for and get the solution. All of these different tactics compiled together create this marketing. So you end up getting put in a bucket with all the other marketers. I may be giving attention to something I don't need to give attention to, and it's not meant to be negative or degrading of marketers. There are some amazing marketers, and they have great messaging. They create wonderful ads that are part of their marketing campaign. And there's so many creative voices and minds out there that are doing some amazing things that are quite inspiring. And then there's everybody else. When it comes to the way I work with my clients, what I've developed over the years is the things that I've learned about marketing have really helped the assets that I create and the strategies that I put together make sense and actually work so much better for my clients. So when I came up with the KISS marketing map, which is one of my introductory products, essentially when I work with a client, I want to make sure that we're A, aligned, B, that I'm super clear on what their goals are, and C, that we're able to gather enough information to put together a plan that I can actually execute. So if they want to continue working with me, they can, or they can take the KISS marketing map and they can go either do it themselves or hire another agency. So the KISS marketing map does have elements of marketing in it because all of the components that compile what I put inside a KISS marketing map have an implementation plan. So at the end, I put together an implementation plan that basically is like a marketing strategy. So all these things put together really just look like marketing. And so that's what we're going to call it. But for some reason, I still kind of have that little bit of resistance. And likely it's because I don't have that formal education. Like I don't have a bachelor's degree in marketing, like many, many universities offer. Very traditional degree that's been around for decades, if not longer. And so what I find really interesting is, and the reason why I'm talking about this and using this example is if you in your business feel that there's an area that you're not really, you don't feel qualified, you don't feel skilled in, you don't feel knowledgeable enough, there are a couple of different ways you can approach it. And this is sort of what I did. Obviously, you can go to school and get a formal degree if you have the time and you're really committed. You want that piece of paper that says marketing degree or fill in the blank degree of whatever you feel you're lacking. There are other ways you can shore that up. There are so many resources available online, whether it's a YouTube video, a podcast, an online training program, a higher education, executive training, post-grad type stuff that you want to get that certification or that training, you can do it. So you can fill that gap because clients will want to work with you versus picking you out of a line of several people that they have to work with in order to get the result. Okay. So if you had a leak in your house and you had to get a plumber, a tile person, a drywall guy, that becomes a major project. Or if you wanted, and this actually happened to my boyfriend, he had a hot water pipe break in his floor and we didn't even know it was flooding outside of his house. And we're like, where's all this water coming from? We come to find out there was a very slow leak. There was a puncture in an underground hot water pipe. And we always wondered why the dog laid in this one in this one spot on the kitchen tile. He was always laying in this one spot. And it's because it was warm. And it was from all the hot water that was seeping up from this copper pipe. So he had to have, not only did he have to have the right kind of plumber come in and do the actual diagnostic. In other words, where was the leak? So if you can't see it, if you can't see the pipe or where the water's coming out, what are you going to do? Well, you got to go and find. So they have these devices that they can go and they can find where those leaks are. And then they have to figure out, all right, how are we going to tackle this? How deep is it? Where are we going to, what do we have to destroy basically to access this pipe? So they had to take out tile. So they're using tile saws and concrete cutters and all these kind of major tools to get through the foundation of this house down into the ground where they could find the pipe and they could actually do the repair. Once the repair was done and they did the pressure testing and everything was fine, then they had to fill it back up, pour new concrete, lay new tile, which I don't even know where we found the extra tile pieces to replace the gaping hole. It was good, I would say 2 to 3 feet square, this hole in the middle of his house, right by the kitchen where we're walking all the time. And of course, it's making dust mess and everything. So we were able to find somebody who could do it all. And they acted as a GC, a general contractor, and they handled all these other resources that came in. So if you have a business where you're not providing turnkey service, meaning end to end, right? So you're not just a small segment of a longer process. You're actually providing the complete process from end to end. So the client works with you, only you, gets what they need, and then they move on. Or they continue to work with you because you're able to provide that level of service. Plus, you not only that, but you get more wallet share. Granted, you're probably investing more because you need these resources. But if you're able to do it either through your own contractors or through your own talents, then that's a win-win. Okay. In my business, I do all those things. And I don't want this to sound arrogant or like I'm bragging, but I've always made it my goal to be smart on many subjects related to what my clients typically need. So I go everywhere from obviously creating the assets, the strategy, the design, the copy, all those things. That's my talent. My whole career has been around design, copywriting, etc. But the other areas that I want to make sure that I can talk intelligently, provide solutions, be able to answer my clients' questions in a reasonable manner where they can actually go, oh, okay, well, you're right then. I understand that's how it works. I have spent so much time just researching and learning from others and observing others and getting books, taking courses, signing up for things. So I knew how these things worked. It's kind of like getting the keys and just driving a car is great. You just go down the road, you're happy. Figure if you get a flat tire, you could probably deal with it. Call AAA. But when your car breaks down and you don't know why, that's a problem. So then you have to go and you got to take it to the dealership or take it to your mechanic and do all these things. So not to say that you have to, just because you own a car, that was probably not the best analogy to use, right? that you own a car, that you have to know how every little thing works in your car, especially today when it's like I open the hood of my car and I can't even see half the stuff because my entire engine compartment is encased in this big plastic thing with the car's company logo on it. And I'm like, oh, that's really helpful. I can check my batteries and I can put, windshield wiper fluid in my, and check my oil. Those things I know how to do. Sorry, I picked the worst analogy to give you on this. But the reason why that popped into my head is I have this friend, his name's Len, and he had I don't know, I doubt he still has it. This is years ago, but he had an old Ford Explorer. And I used to tease him all the time. I would say, Len, why do you still have this old beater? Why don't you get yourself a new car? And he's like, oh man, he says, but I know how to fix everything on this car. He says, the way they make them now, it's impossible to do a lot of these repairs because everything is electronic and computer driven. And I had to laugh. So anyway, sorry. I'm sorry for that terrible analogy. And yes, I am leaving this in the show. But when you're going back to my original thing is, there's nothing wrong with learning new skills that round out your offering, because the more you can provide value, one source of a lot of value to your clients, the better off you're going to be. Now, that can also bite you in the butt, meaning it's easy to fall into the trap of being too diverse in what you're offering. So you can't really clearly communicate the solution you provide. This is no more evident when you're trying to niche down your business. When I work with new clients, especially clients who are really just starting out and they don't have a lot of experience in business or marketing or any of that they want to be able to be all things to their customers. They want to cast a broad net in who they want to serve. And the mistake there is that when you're overly general with the solutions you provide, then no one really can connect with whether or not you're right for them, because in their mind, they're thinking of a very specific type of a solution provider. And so when you have all these different skills, it can dilute your messaging. It can dilute or distract you from how you want to initially make that relationship. And I'll use my business as an example. yes, I could have very easily just focused on, I'm going to just do websites. And this is the kind of website I do, and this is why I do it that way. So I've been using the Squarespace platform since 2008. And I thank Monica for turning me on to Squarespace way back when. I was very resistant to it because I was doing everything by hand. I was hand coding. I was using Dreamweaver. Oh my gosh, I'm so dating myself. But it was a great beginning for me because I understand how HTML, CSS, all the code works. I'm not a coder per se, but I understand how websites work. I understand how code works, how things get rendered and all that. What I found myself doing is as I extended more and more of my work, like the copywriting, there was a point where I was like, you know what? I'm just going to focus on writing copy. Let me just be a marketing copywriter. And that didn't sit right. And then I was like, well, I'm just going to focus on doing design. Well, that just didn't seem enough for me, right? Not everybody needs design. Then all of a sudden, all these resources started coming available as far as, being able to go to 99 Designs to get your logo done for like 99 bucks. And so as more and more of these resources came available, it became more and more difficult to find my lane. And the reason why I wasn't finding my lane was I was resistant to being put in a box, hearkening back to what I was saying about marketing. I didn't want to get labeled. I didn't want to get put in a box. I wanted to have the freedom of being able to create and help my clients the way that they needed help, and leveraging all of my skills and experience and talent, whether it be the tactical things I did from a creative standpoint, or whether it was the actual coaching and the business strategy and the confidence building and talking about sales and business development. Those are skills that I think that I've honed quite well, in addition to what I've honed as far as my creative tactical assets that I build. Well, for me, I had to pick something because I was being very confusing, and I am terrible at self-promotion. I'm going to talk about that in another episode because it fits my human design as a projector. I hate self-promotion. I just want to help and serve and do great work and make my clients rock stars and be the one behind the curtain. And here I am in front of a microphone, right? Go figure. But this is my way of helping, right? Oh my goodness, what a crazy episode. I love to free wing it, you know what I mean? So I keep doing that and I'm going to lose my train of thought. So what I had to do was, and this was really helpful as I was reading some really, really helpful books. One of them that I recommend to all my clients is called Badass Your Brand by Pia Silva. And Pia, shout out to you. She's been on my first podcast. I've had her on twice. I'm going to have her on this one too. She's just the best. I just love her to pieces. She wrote an amazing book that's really designed toward people like myself, but it can also be applied to pretty much anybody in your business, especially for solopreneurs, about, investing a lot of time in proposing when you can actually turn that into a product. Anyway, I'll get into that later. But when I was talking about self-promotion, I just resisted that. So I just never did well with marketing my own business. So I had to pick a lane. I had to pick something that is what I call my gateway drug. When I looked back, and I did this maybe 5-6 years into my business. So it wasn't something that occurred to me right away. But the irony is it's one of the very first things I did when I started my business. And you can listen to my other episodes about how I got started. It was websites. People needed help with their websites, whether they didn't have one and they needed one, whether the one they had was built by like their cousin Jimmy in the garage on an HP and they kind of needed it to be a little updated, or whatever the situation was. They were changing their focus, so they just needed a complete rebrand, repositioning, and they wanted fresh eyes on what they were doing. Many of us who have our own solopreneur business will go through this cycle of website iterations, and we'll get somebody different each time to create our website for us because we do need that fresh objective look at the business, a different style, something that's going to kind of kick it up a notch or two. That became my gateway drug. When I do my quote unquote, the little bit of self-promotion that I actually do, I point out websites, selling systems, anything that grows business. And I will tell you, and I'll talk more about this, if you're looking for the perfect product or service to sell someone, if you can help someone make money, that is, in my mind, I don't know if this is accurate or not, but in my mind, that is the number one best thing you can do in your product line, is create something that will help someone else make money. There are other things, other problems that people have that they want to solve. But most people in today's society, in today's economy, in the world we live in, problems are solved with money. And so if you can show someone how they can make money, and sometimes you can make money by saving money too, so that's also part of that equation. If you can do that, then you've got it made. So the way I shifted how I position myself is websites that make money. In other words, websites that grow business, websites that act as selling systems, websites that house content you're delivering that as a subscription that you're getting money from, passive income. And so all of these things are different ways that I can create value for my clients by building things that help them make money. What I want you to think about in the prompt is, what has been your stumbling block in your business? Something that you feel you got labeled. Like, for example, when a friend introduces you, like, here's, my friend Sarah, and Sarah's a life coach. Well, what if you're not really a life coach? What if you're an executive coach focused in the pharmaceutical industry and you're at the top of your game and you only work with senior executives and C-suite executives? So that's very specific. But if you get introduced as a life coach, then all of a sudden you're like, oh God, right? So where in your business are you being put in a box? Where in your marketing, your messaging, how people refer you, introduce you, are you being mislabeled? And what has that done to your business? Or how has that impacted it in a way that either good or bad? One, bad meaning it creates resistance and friction for you. You're unclear in your messaging. You end up going off in different directions. You're not really sure. So it causes confusion. And then the good side could be, it could actually introduce you into a gap in the marketplace, which is what happened to me. I'll tell you about that in another episode. I keep alluding to all these other episodes. I got a lot of work to do, don't I? But it can actually introduce you into a new gap that you may have not identified. And then all of a sudden you stumble across it and you're like, oh my God, that's something that I can actually make money serving that particular gap. So where in your business, or where in maybe a past job or whatever, have you been mislabeled? And have you been presented in a way that you didn't feel was the right fit for you? It's a great mirror for not being clear about what you do in your heart and in your mind, as well as how you communicate about what you do. So take a look at those things. That's the prompt I have for you, is to examine where that may be the case in your business and see what that does for you, because we need less pebbles in our shoes as solopreneurs, don't we? Anyway, thanks for listening. We'll see you soon. Well, I know you're disappointed, but that's it for this episode. Listen, the great news is there's another one coming, so stay tuned. Anyway, I just want to make sure that you do the prompt. If this episode had a prompt, and you get that homework done, because you're going to be a better solopreneur. How's that for a maternal finger shaking at you? Hey, listen, thanks so much for being here, for giving me time of your day, and, for taking it on. So if you want to learn more and stay connected with me, just head on over to mysolopreneurlife.com. Thanks a bunch. See you soon. That was pretty good. I think I'll keep that one.